This is my presentation on Utah Extension personnel's barriers, roles, and information source preferences for utilizing agricultural science projects. It is within the Department of Applied Science, Technology, and Education, and I am working towards a Master's of Science in Agricultural Education and Extension. A little bit of background. Many educators are not feeling the need to be proactive when it comes to teaching biotechnology topics or newer material. They're more rolling with the flow of things instead of working proactively and trying to be ahead of the times on the new information and new types of education coming out. Extension personnel and agricultural teachers currently work together and are motivated to improve their value of youth, improve the subject area, improve their education potential as a whole. So they're really working together to try to get the best that they can out of the education through 4-H, FFA, and all the agricultural education programs. Educators are not feeling the need to be proactive in educating biotechnology topics. This really reinforces the point of Boone, just where educators aren't really feeling the need to be ahead of everything. They're just wanting to go with the flow and keep things a lot of the same that they are now. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture has a 4-H science program in place to translate and to transform innovations. So their 4-H program has different programs within it, different education types, different sources, and is really working to help improve the science side of 4-H through their programs that way with NEFA. The theoretical framework of this study is the diffusion of innovation theory. There are 5 steps to this theory, and this theory is really based around how a theory or an innovation or anything that way works its way through society and it transmits and is adopted by those in the community or not, if it is rejected by them that way. There are 5 stages that are part of the decision process of the diffusion of innovations theory. The first is knowledge. This is where many people are aware of some idea of what the innovation is, but don't really have an interest yet in looking more into it, having an idea what's going on with it, any of the facts that way. The next is going to be their persuasion. So this is where they're really going to look more into facts about it, subject matter, anything, really get an idea of what the innovation is, how it works, the people around it, and things that way. Next comes the decision stage, where it is either accepted or rejected. They're going to use the pros and cons that they've learned in the previous steps and really make a decision if they want to adopt the new innovation or reject it. If there is a decision to adopt it, then they will move on to the implementation stage, where they will start using the innovation in their daily lives, kind of just sharing about it more, using it more, and being involved with the theory or the innovation. And the last step is the confirmation step, where it's established within the people and it's part of their daily lives and things that way. There are 5 different types of people that they break down in diffusions of innovation theory. You're going to have your innovators, so your first group of people. Then you're going to go to your early adopters, and then your or early innovators, your early adopters, your legates, and then your last group there that are going to be the last ones to really follow the train and get on board with what the innovation is and what's really happening. The problem statement of this theory is to identify the barriers, roles, and information source preferences of extension personnel for agricultural science programs. So the hope is to really find the different things that are holding back these programs and get the opinions and feel of the extension personnel's attitude towards the programs. There are 5 research objectives in the study. The first is to determine extension personnel's perception and priority of agricultural science programs. So how do they see it? What do they think is important with it? What is it something that they think will work in their program, in their area? The second one is to determine the personnel's perceptions of barriers, prohibiting the utilization of agricultural science programs. So this question's really going to look into what barriers are holding back the programs, not just the opinions that the extension personnel have towards it, but are there different things like the resources or the volunteers, things that way that are really stopping them from getting to use these ag science programs and have these ag science programs. The third one is to determine the extension personnel's beliefs about their roles in agricultural science projects. So here it's going to be asked whether if the extension agent believe they have an important role in educating their community, in the different programs of 4-H, and really get an understanding of where they see their place in these projects. The fourth objective is to determine information source preferences of extension personnel for receiving agricultural science information. So in today's day and age, are they using YouTube? Are they getting an idea through the different textbooks, other extension personnel? What sources are they using that they are getting the basis of their information and their knowledge from in regards to the agricultural science industry and programs? And the last objective is to determine if there is a relationship between the extension personnel's perceptions of the barriers, roles, information sources, and their demographics. So the demographics will include their age, how long they've been in extension, their education level, and look into that side for the demographics. The research design, so it will be a online survey using Qualtrics. There's been a lot of rapid growth with the use of online surveys. It allows for the cost reduction, it gets similar results, and it's becoming a more accessible way for this generation to reply and answer through surveys and help be a part of research. The population for this study is going to be the extension personnel in Utah, with 40% or more assignment with 4-H youth development. So this will be a customized list that is being put together of all the extension agents that are having that 40% are required through the university or assigned through the university, 40% or more assignment within the 4-H youth development program. This population is a custom list, so a list that is being put together to make sure that it identifies all of the people within this category that fit this description. Other than that, there's not going to be any restrictions on who will be in that sample group. So the instrumentation of the study, a researcher design study will be used based off previous literature and previous studies, and is going to be administered online, like I said, through Qualtrics. The validity will come from a panel of faculty from the Applied Science, Technology, and Education Department of Utah State's College of Agriculture. And the reliability will be tested through a pilot study of 12 extension personnel from Colorado to get that understanding of, is it going to be reliable? Is it going to have the right questions and answers in it? The instrument will have 5 different sections based around the 5 different objective questions, or the 5 different research objectives. The first section will look at the level of importance and perceived ability of various project areas. So this is going to really get that understanding of how they see it from their perspective. The second section is going to ask the barriers that they may face with agri-science programs. These are both going to have going to use a Likert scale of 1 to 5, where your strongly strongly agree will be your 5 and your strongly disagree will be your 1. In the level of importance and perceived ability, it will be a 2-part, so there will be a Likert scale for each of a 5-point Likert scale for each of those within the question. Section 3 is going to use the roles of the extension personnel. Again, this will use a 5-point Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree, whether they feel that that role is something that is part of their job or their part with ag science programs. The 4th section is going to have the information source preferences. Here it will use a ranking scale, so they will rank the different sources from 1 to 11 on which ones they use to which ones they're not using or using the least. And the last section is going to include the demographics, so ask those 4 basic demographic questions so that we are able to get that understanding and use it in the correlation with the others to find out that information. The study will use the Taylor design model. There is going to be a pre-notice email. 3 days later, the questionnaire will be sent out. Within the questionnaire and the 3 reminder emails, there is going to have the link to the study. The reminder emails will come 7 days apart after the original questionnaire has been emailed out. Like I said, the emails will have the link to the survey and have information for any questions. It will be a customized email custom introduction into the study and what we're looking for, and helping them make this easy for them to do and complete. In terms of data analysis, the first 3 objectives are all going to use the means, standard deviation, frequencies, and range to get the data out of those. Those are the questions that have the Likert scale on the barriers, the roles, their perceived ability, and the level of importance that they find with the various topics. The 4th objective is going to include your frequencies. So this objective was the objective on the different information sources. So we'll run frequencies on each one and find the results that way. And the 5th objective is going to use frequencies and percentages to interpret the demographics. And then a correlation will be run between the barriers, roles, information sources, and demographics. If there are any questions, and thank you guys for watching and being here and helping me through this process. And here is my resource page.